That is a zebra on the ice, Bill.
How did he get on the ice?
That's amazing. They still can't get him off the ice. This is crazy. Here comes all the zebras. It's a zoo out there.
You can't do that. Doesn't matter. Get in the box.
Welcome everyone to Chirping Zebras. Maybe we'll all embrace the zebra side.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chirping Zebras, episode 92. Mark Riley, virtually alongside Gino Binda Jr. and Josh Dolan. And we want to welcome you and want to, right off the hop, thank our sponsors. The Referees Crease, your one-stop shop for all your refereeing needs, from scheduling, training, and payment. They do it all. Also, Damon Financial, LLC. For over 24 years, Damon Financial has helped families and business owners grow and protect their wealth. With clear, trusted strategies from retirement planning and investments to tax-efficient solutions, they deliver no-nonsense advice focused on your goals. You can give them a call at 508-321-2101 today to schedule your meeting with Damon Financial or visit them at damonfinancial.com. We also want to thank Townsend Hockey, our buddy Graham Townsend, for sponsoring the Chirping Zebras. And we want to remind you to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all the social medias, the Instagram, the Facebook, and, of course,
TikTok.
Thank you, Gino. Last week's guest, Kyle Binstead from Australia, talking to the future. That was pretty cool.
Yes, it was. It's kind of interesting how we met him, too, through the Monday night quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we never would have met him if we didn't do the Monday night quarterback.
Right on. Yeah, he's interesting how they got to travel and all that over there, how far away everything is and things like that. And like people complain about going down the street for a Mike game,
I know. It's crazy how people don't want to even drive 45 minutes to an hour to go do a college game, let alone driving 2.5 like they do down there.
Seriously, we have some of the best D3 teams, and it's a little far away, but get in the car and go get that experience. Like, guys don't want to go and work, and I don't know. I never said no to an assignment, and I always looked at it as a road trip. Like, let's rock and roll. Go up, do the game, have some fun, come home.
100%.
You're getting paid for ice time. Why not?
Like, there's no value anymore in the game, in the assignment, and it's what is it in it for me? What can I make out of it? How much money is it? What am I getting for travel? Why is it only $20? I never. My father said you're going to Vermont to referee. Okay, I never asked how much. Where I'm like, basically, I half the time I didn't even know where I was fucking staying. Never mind. It's just like you figure it out. You get the call at 1 a.m. Hey, there's your room.
Yeah, it's like stage time for comics. Like you're not asking how much money or how you get stage time in front of a crowd. You go
100%. That's what it is. Like Riley, how many gigs did you do for free? Right?
A good amount. And even now, well, I mean, back in the day, you'd drive a couple hours just to open a show and not, get paid $50. Or go up and do like a set so that the booker could see you. And
that's what I was going to say. That guy, the guy's there, and this guy drove. He's committed. He'll come out here for $50. All right.
Yeah.
Now I got him, and
That's what I'm always
100%.
telling people. You got to show your worth before you name your price.
Right.
Look at that. That should be on a T-shirt.
Right.
Show your worth before you name your price.
Yeah.
Heard here on the Chirping Zebras.
So you guys just went on a little trip. How was that?
Down to Virginia Beach.
Yes, how was that?
You know what? The Warrior for Life Fund, Captain Crowley and our buddy Frank Simonetti from the Bruins alumni set us up. We went down there and just awesome. Their facility is incredible. And they gave us a tour. We did some cool stuff. Refereed a game between the Warrior for Life Fund and the Special Ops Hockey, led
Sweet.
by John Eccles, our buddy John Eccles. And Josh and I did a comedy show, saw the facilities. I mean, it was just it was great, and can't wait to go back down.
That's awesome. Good for you guys.
That was insane. And it was just like the I mean, there's more stuff that we can talk about, like when we went to dinner that night right before our flight. There was a lot of stuff like that. I almost got a guy in a fight with John Eccles, who's a Navy SEAL, and he was wearing cutoff shorts, and I made a comment outside of a bar after the game to him, and he didn't realize I had said it. He thought someone else said it. It was a whole hilarious thing. It's on film, so maybe yeah.
All right.
It'll be out there on the socials at some point. Those Navy SEAls, though, and the Army Rangers and stuff, they're just the most humble, nicest, appreciative guys. I mean,
Yeah, because
and
they
the
can rip
stuff
your
they-
face off in a second.
Yeah.
that's the thing. They can kill you in 6 different ways to Sunday, but you wouldn't know it. They're so unassuming and just really nice guys. And
Yeah, like the guy Tom. I like looking at Tom or any of those guys. You wouldn't, or even John. I feel like I wouldn't be like Navy SEAL like when you see him, but they're just like normal guys. It just makes me even more like I'm not honking my horn in traffic because now everybody's a Navy SEAL. I'm like, I don't know who knows what.
I got to stop doing that.
you get road rage, Gino? Come on.
Can't imagine it. I don't even know what the horn in my car sounds like.
Well, it was quite a trip, and hopefully next time we go down, you'll be able to join us, Gino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, when my kids are 22.
yeah, it might take you a while. We'll figure
Dude,
it out.
seriously, just like book up your weekend, man. Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And plus, my weekend's booked up with hockey too already. So it's just like I'm in a rink literally Friday all the way through. Like this weekend, I'm going to RIT. I'm going to watch the women and then a men's game. So I got a doubleheader Friday. Then I got to go to Syracuse for Saturday afternoon tilt. Go home, drive home after that, and then Sunday morning I'll be in a rink, and then Sunday night I'll be at a rink for my daughter.
Jeez.
Yeah,
I thought
love
my
it.
daughter had me busy this weekend. We just have dance class and a Home Depot activity, but that's it.
And I'm missing 3 of her games on Saturday. She has 2 skate outs and a goalie game. So
A lot of games.
it is, but like a lot of the weekends, like that's the most. But she's had like 1 game a day for most part on the weekends. It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, today we're very excited about our guest who's coming on. You know, obviously we could give his accolades. He was an NHL player. He's been an NHL coach. He coached down in the East Coast League when I was there. He's coached in the American League when you were there, Gino.
So we yelled at both of us.
Yep, yelled at both of us. And he was won a Stanley Cup. He coached here in Boston, and just an incredible guy. And we're very excited to have him on. So, and I'm wearing my Golden Knights shirt for a reason, and we're gonna get to our conversation with none other than Bruce Cassidy.
Beauty.
Bruce Cassidy, welcome to the Zebras. We're psyched to have you on.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Let's talk some hockey.
Right on. Very good. Thanks for joining us.
Right off the hop, we ask everyone. First of all, I'm wearing my Golden Knight shirt.
Yeah, I got
Obviously, it's the only piece of non-Bruins clothing I wear, and I bought it last year because I adopted you guys as my playoff team for a couple of reasons. One, you, Jack Eichel and Hannafin, local guys, and my buddy Gordo worked for the Knights and got us tickets to a game last year. So you're my adopted team.
I appreciate that. Well, you can have the Bruins in the East and the Knights in the West. How's that? Keep everyone happy.
Perfect.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a
there's
good
lot
Stanley
of
Cup
Bruins
final too.
fans.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of Bruins fans up for adoption right now. So
Yeah, that would make a good final. Bruins and Knights. I wouldn't mind that at all.
I think Gordo just left us, didn't he? Is it the same guy that does the creative stuff? I think he might have
Yes.
gone on to bigger and better things or got a promotion somewhere.
Yeah.
So, good guy.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah, he did move. He got a new job, I think Texas or something like that. So, but he was good dude. Off the hop, we ask everyone, what's it like to win and then hold the Stanley Cup?
Well, I got to tell you, it's hard to describe because you probably think about it and dream about it your whole life, and then it happens inside of about a minute, right? Like I didn't know when my turn would be. Someone kind of taps you and says, "Hey, you're next. Get ready. It's heavy." So it is heavier than you think. You're worried about, you're on the ice, right, in your dress shoes. So you're kind of like, okay, I got to lift this thing up. You're half throwing it in the air and half worried about falling on your ass, So it's a lot of stuff going through your head. But um, it was, like I said, it's really indescribable. You're looking for your family up in the crowd and, just a lot of emotions going on. But and then it's over, right? You're in the locker room and the cup's there and you're drinking out of it a little bit and then it's moving around everywhere and it's kind of gone. It's like, well, what the hell happened? Like I've been waiting my whole life here and it seemed like it was 15 minutes was a blur. Anyway, try to do it again. Guess that's the plan.
What did you do with your day of the cup? Yeah, exactly.
I was in your area. I took it.
What did you end up doing with your day? Yeah.
I took it to, we started a charity, Cassidy Murray Foundation that morning in Milton. A young girl passed away, unfortunate in a boating accident. It was one of my daughter's best friends. So, and her name was Cassidy Murray. How ironic is that? So we raised a little awareness for the charity they started, the foundation, which is to help people. They found out in a hurry that, there's grief therapy can be costly and required and necessary. So they've done a great job. The last couple of years, we've, had a golf tournament for it to help, again, raise some money and some awareness. So they're doing some good things there, the family. So we spent the morning there in Milton. And then in the afternoon, I have a house in Cape Cod. So we spent the afternoon, had some family over, and then opened it up to the public, had a bunch of, kids, boys and girls club, had access to take pictures with it, and then had a little private dinner, had about 70 people there. Bobby Orr was there and Ray Bourque, two of my favorite Bruins of all time. Zdeno would have been, but he was in Slovakia. A few other hockey guys, the coaches that I coached with in Boston. And then that night we had a little party there, brought it over to the local kind of restaurant pub, and some of the buddies I golf with, took their pictures with us. So it was a good day. Then it went off to Jack took it next over to Chelmsford, I believe he had it in that area. So it was a good day. A lot of people got to enjoy some time with it. Had some family and friends around. So that was probably one of the highlights of winning, right? Is that actual day. Again, you have the whole day to process it and the pictures you take and look back on them now. Like that's something that be ingrained in my head forever, that day. And again, when that's why I'd like to do it again. That 24 hours was special.
It's really cool.
Yeah. And you mentioned the foundation. I was going to bring it up. You can find information on that, the CassidyMurrayFoundation.org. So if anyone's interested in that or donating, definitely check that out because that's a really cool thing. Not cool why it was, formed, but the fact that it was formed and what it does is good stuff.
Yeah, anybody, listen, if you're able to and can donate, I appreciate it. I know the family appreciate it.
What
did I lose you guys?
We just lost him. Fuck.
His
Tell me we
connection
got all that.
Yeah, his connection is real bad.
Tell me we
Connection's
got that
terrible.
though.
I don't know if
we can edit that, right? Like edit when he comes back on.
Shit.
yeah, I don't know if it's
Hotel rooms are tough.
like if he tries getting on the hotel Wi-Fi or if he gets off the Wi-Fi.
He said he'll try again. I'm on the hotel Wi-Fi. So hopefully he'll be coming on. Oh,
There he is.
I'm on the hotel Wi-Fi, so I don't know. Like it's not super strong, but it says I'm on. So
This is a lot
Now it-
clearer. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lot better.
yeah, it's better now for sure.
yeah, I think the previous time it seemed like you guys were on a delay, or maybe I was.
Yes. You were on a little bit of a delay too. Yeah. All right. We're rocking and rolling now, baby.
Yeah, it was kind of like you were in the eye of the hurricane when we throw it out from the desk.
Well, try again.
Yeah. Right.
We'll have all that, so we'll just edit it in. It's no worries.
You guys, when do you guys do it a weekly, daily? What's your?
Yeah. We try to do a weekly.
Yeah, we drop every week.
Okay.
Yeah, and we
stockpile interviews. So like the interviews will be like every other day. Hopefully get enough in the can.
we've had a few referees on that you might have had run-ins with. Kerry Frazier, Don Koharski and Paul Stewart.
Yeah, I know. I run into Stewie in golf outings here and there, and Koharski I know a little better. Kerry Fraser, I never really crossed paths with him. I didn't play enough for those guys, So.
Yep. Now, our paths crossed. Actually, Gino's I know in the American League we can talk about, but back in the East Coast League, you were the coach of the Jacksonville Lizard Kings when I was down there reffing.
Yeah, I that was my first stop. So it's funny that the first game I ever coached, we were playing the Mississippi Seawolves. I think it
Seawolves. Yeah.
was Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah.
Guy to play with was their coach, and we had 11 minors or 12 minors that night to kill, and we probably deserved every freaking one of them. We were, I was like, after like I got to get rid of some of these guys. This is, and it was Kevin Pollock doing the game, who's gone on. He had a pretty good career. I don't know if he retired last year, but I think he officiated like 1,000 games in the NHL. So it's funny. Yeah.
That checks out. I'll just say that.
Not one of Riley's favorites.
No. Well, I tell you what, he wasn't my favorite that night either. Oh, I mean, every we were in the box all night, and it's like, can't be.
Cool, right?
I mean,
Well, what's funny is the Seawolves were like just rock 'em, sock 'em too. Like they took more penalties than anyone, I think, back then, and so interesting.
who knows? They might have had 8 or 9 of their own. I don't remember, but I just know that we had 12. I think we were like 10 for 12 or 9. We won the game 3-2. I do remember that, but it was anyway.
Well,
For anybody, right, to go through a game like that, like half their guys don't play, and anyway.
I think we always got along because I vividly remember all the times where I had problems with coaches. But I think you and I got along all right.
Well, I know I can bark at guys, but I forget about it. But the next, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's in the moment, and I've never been suspended or anything like that, or so.
You never got personal. Like you would yell more at your team than us, and like
yeah, that's all my energy. It's true.
I remember one time I asked, I go, "You yelling at me?" You're like, "No, but now I am."
Yeah. Sooner or later I will, but I gotta take care of my own dummies first here.
What?
Even go ahead. Even when you were in the even in like in Boston or anytime you have a media after a game, like you never sewer the referees, even though you got screwed in the game. You go, it is what it is. They got a tough job to do, and you move on with it. Like you were never one to hold the referees to the fire, really.
You try not to because you're going to see them again for one. Everybody. I don't know. I don't know how you guys do that job, to be honest, because nobody likes you. The fans, neither team. You know what I mean? Someone's always yelling at you or criticizing you. It's like, man, that's kind of a lonely job out there, I would think. Anyway, so I try to keep that in mind every once in a while that listen, no one's ever going to agree. Like if I like the call, probably means the other coach doesn't, right? Like, so, someone's always kind of probably upset. So anyway.
I always went in with the mindset, as long as my supervisor or my boss at the time, as long as he was happy, I was happy, right? If he came in and kicked my ass, I had a tough game, you had to go back out and do it again. But that's the only one I really cared about, because like you said, you're never going to make them happy. You're going to piss somebody off along the way.
Yeah, the only question I ever had is, right, like we, the players come in the next day, we do video, and I watch every game we play. Do the officials nowadays, do they go back and look at their video, or do they just get like sort of an update from their supervisor? Hey, that tripping call in the second period was a toe pick. You know what I mean? Like what level of scrutinizing do they do like to themselves, or from their their boss?
The good ones will put the time and effort in and go back and look and dissect, right? The other ones that just, the ones that you don't see in the playoffs, those are the guys that are just kind of going through the motions. And, they get sent clips and reviews after every game. They send highlights out and, teaching moments every week. And then you get the copy of the game. Like I used to go back and watch all my penalties or a situation, and oh, where was my sight line, or why did I miss that? Because like, oh, I wasn't skating, or I was in the corner, or I was
Right.
like, I should have been above the goal line instead of below the goal line. I would have had a better sight line there, and you kind of learn along the way. It's like, it's a industry where you learn from failure, like tons of failure, right? So like make all your mistakes in the minors before you get up to the top.
Yeah. All right. I was just curious about that because we have our process on how we teach, uh, and I just wondered if they, you know,
Yeah,
make,
they get hammered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I,
like
rem-
even afterwards, like the supervisor comes in, sometimes you're in there for an hour, breaking it down. And sometimes you're in and out. All depends on what type of game it was.
yeah. Well, that makes sense. Like some of our games that, hey, we play well enough, you don't need to revisit a lot of things. Other nights, you're like, holy shit, we're going back to the drawing board.
Right,
It's
exactly. Same
criteria.
deal.
So yeah. All right.
So
yeah,
like you've
back.
been no, go ahead.
I was gonna say back in the day in the East Coast League, we used to get a VHS tape, and we'd always watch the VHS tape when we got back home.
Well, we had to. So I started down there by myself. So I didn't have an assistant, and that's exactly what I had. You'd have to put the tape in. And if you're on the bus, you had one of those little mini players almost, right? Like
Yep.
bench screen. So otherwise you're doing it at home or in your office. And back then you had to, Josh probably wouldn't even, so it looks like he's a young guy. So he probably doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, but you would have to hit the stop button and write down where the timer was, right? Like, so, 12:04 to 12:28 is a good breakout. And then you go back and hit the record button, record, for those 14 seconds or whatever. I just, you know what I mean? And then stop it, write it down on paper, what you just did, because you couldn't put a heading on it like you can now when you're doing your computer, right? You'd have to write down breakout, you know, versus an aggressive whatever, and so that when you showed it the next day, I mean, it was time consuming to get through any of that stuff and then show the players after, right? And you had to hope that the tape didn't fall apart or get stuck, or it used to happen with those VHFs. So yeah, those were the days. Nowadays it's computer, it's hit your key and just start and stop and then type in the heading, it goes right underneath and off you go. You know what I mean? It's so much easier.
Hey, listen, I am young, but I'm no stranger to two VCRs and a pause button. So
All right.
we used to. I loved it back then because now you have tablets on the bench and stuff, right? I loved it back then when the coaches say, "I'm going to send the tape in," and I'd always say, "I'll pay the postage," because you couldn't even email anything back then. It was brutal.
Yeah. No, it was well, I like everything, right? Progress, but it was a process to get through a hockey game, and so I assume that's why a lot of coaches didn't even bother with video, right? It was just let's get to practice, get on the ice, go to the board, and sort it out. So yeah.
I got to ask you,
Nowadays,
when you were in Jacksonville, did you ever experience the Florida Georgia game? Because I remember being there one time. It was an afternoon game at Jacksonville, and the place was packed. There was all these RVs in the parking lot, and they were there for the game that night, Florida, Georgia. And it was absolute chaos. It was unbelievable.
I didn't, and I did see that the Jaguars had just shown up in the NFL back when I was there. This was '97, I think, um, and they actually became pretty good. It was Tom Coughlin, I think, he's a Boston guy or Massachusetts guy. Anyway, heard worked there, and he did a good job with that team. They got to be pretty good fairly quickly. Had a couple of good runs. I think Brunell was their quarterback. Baselli was their big lineman, and like some of their bigger names. And they had a decent team there. But I did not see that Florida, Georgia. We must have been gone on those weeks. I was only there a year and a half, so we must have been on the road. But I know it was great games.
I think you broke an attendance record that day. The Lizard Kings did. Because you guys didn't exactly draw that well down there, but I loved going to that building. It was always fun.
Yeah, the fans that were there were loud. I'll say that. But you're right. We weren't probably one of the bigger ones. But I enjoyed my time there. Like I said, they supported us well enough, I guess. That you got to see some. I'm a Canadian, right, from Ottawa, so you're down I'd never played that far down, and you're going over to New Orleans had a team, I think then, or
Yep.
for sure, like Baton Rouge. So you saw part of Louisiana, places I'd never been, Birmingham. There were the Florida teams, Tallahassee and Pensacola, but that I-10 run, there was some good road trips there, some good weather, and some old hockey rinks that I would have never otherwise been to and thought would even be supported. And now look where we are in Vegas, right? Like, who would have thought Vegas would have a team? Never mind some of these places. So
Good
I guess
point.
you never know.
Now, I went to a game out there last year, the Bruins, when they played out there towards the end of the season. You guys absolutely, smoked them. I think it was like 6-2 or something. I was kind of pissed because I put some prop bets in because I was out in Vegas, right? And I bet with my heart, not my head, and lost that 50 quick. But what's it like to do that arena? It's like a Vegas show every night. I mean, they go all out. It's got to be fun coaching there.
It is. It's a great atmosphere. And where it's situated, right? If you're staying anywhere on the strip, you can just walk over. So you don't have to worry about parking. It's right beside, New York and Aria, and like right in the heart of it. They do a little thing before the game, which everyone always asks me about, but I'm usually inside, talking to the guys. So I've never seen that part where the night, I guess he ends up defeating. Well, he's undefeated, so he must win. Whatever. Yeah, like a mascot from the other team, wherever he's fighting, a bad guy anyway. But even just like there's usually a guest that does the horn, and it's just loud in there. There's good giveaways. There's always I forget what they're called. The girls that are dancing up in the castle area, and I don't know. It just seems like there's nonstop noise, giveaways, fan appreciation, all that stuff. It's a little different than when you're used to a Canadian building, right? That just hockey sells itself, so to speak, and that's all they focus on. Whereas Vegas, because of the town, they want to make sure there's something going on every second of the game. So they do a really good job, and we've sold out all the time, so the people must appreciate it.
That's awesome. Frozen Four's coming out there this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Looking forward to that. That should be fun.
My favorite part was the showgirls during warm-ups. Vegas showgirls there. It's just like it's Vegas.
Why not?
So Bruce, you've been coaching a couple different teams. You came up through the ranks, like the right way through the Coast League, up through the minors. Now along the way, like, who were your kind of mentors? Who did you look up to? What kind of coaches you emulate and try to and like anybody that like you seek out for advice or mentorship? Anybody like that?
Well, I started by myself, so I never was an assistant. I went right into I retired. I was playing in Indianapolis in the IHL, and then they needed a coach down in. We had the same owner owned Indianapolis and Jacksonville, so I wasn't playing much. I knew I was at the end. I just tore my ACL on my left knee, or right knee. I tore the other one years before, so I knew I was 30. I was basically done. So they offered the opportunity to go there, so I went mid-season. So when I started, it was me, just, hey, here's the keys to the camper, get to work. And I ended up, as I went along, I played for Daryl Sutter in the minors for a couple, 3 years, and we won a championship in '90. And I always thought, he was demanding. He could be hard on you, but he kind of taught me how to win at that level. I was an offensive minded guy, and his teams were, a little more structured and take care of the puck first and defensive minded. And I think our teams that I coach now have those attributes, yet we can still score, right? So I kind of took some of what I learned from Daryl. I still talk to him periodically, more so in years past. Brian Kilray was my junior coach who won a Memorial Cup in junior in Ottawa. I love that Brian didn't, with his team, he didn't try to make you something you weren't. Like, he didn't put a square peg in a round hole. If you were a skill guy, he tried to let you be a skill guy. I like that. But those were the two guys, I guess, at the time. And then I had a few friends in the league. Jimmy Playfair was
Hey,
coaching.
Bruce.
What?
I sorry. I think you just had your finger over the mic.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like Jimmy Playfair was a guy that I had lived with in the minors. He was coaching in Dayton. So he gave me a little bit of, and Mark Kumpel was another guy I knew that gave me the rundown of the coast when I first took the job. He's like, you're going to have guys calling you, trying to steal your best players, make trades with you. Like they're going to sell you. And sure enough, the next day that starts happening. So they were good just to give me the kind of nuts and bolts of how the league went. And after that, like I said, I didn't really have a guy because I didn't work under anybody for an extended period of time, right? I kind of was a head guy for most of my career. So those are the guys that I stole from, I guess, in terms of ideology or how to play or culture. And then those were the other guys I was talking to were kind of friends that I'd keep in touch with. Now that I've been in the league a little longer, obviously, I've gotten to know John Cooper a lot in Tampa because, we played against him when I was in Boston. Now we're on the Team Canada staff. So he's a guy, and maybe similar, right? He wasn't a guy that had a big career in the league. He just kind of came up and started in the minors, worked his way up. And so we have, in some ways, a similar sort of background. Brad Shaw is a good friend of mine I played junior with. Actually, I'm going to dinner with him tonight. He's coaching in Jersey. So he's a guy that's been in the league a long time as an assistant that I keep in touch with and talk hockey a lot. So there's not a lot of them. Your own staff probably are the guys you deal with the most. I'll tell you, the one guy I do now is Joe Sacco a lot. He was we worked together with the Bruins when I got let go. He stayed. He's in New York now, so I'll probably catch up with him in a couple days. Pando's over at BU. We'll keep in touch. So that staff in Boston I was with for a long time. Kevin Dean, he's in Vancouver.
Kevin's
They're
great.
probably guys now that I have the probably closest friendship with.
You mentioned Kevin Dean. It was always funny. Like you mentioned, like you never really yelled and screamed at us. And like I actually remember working all your games, and all the messages always came through him because like I knew you guys. I knew Kevin, and he'd always be like, "Hey Gino, like what about this?" Or "Hey, watch number 14 over there. He's doing this." Or "Hey, watch that face-off pick," right? Or anything like that. You guys never like yelled and screamed. It was always professional, and it was always like, a conversation piece more than yelling and screaming at us. And just, you guys were always trying to get an edge, obviously, right? And Kevin was great to deal with as far as that goes.
Yeah, he's a pretty level-headed guy. Yeah, well, thanks. You never know when the game's going on. I'm not gonna honestly. Sometimes you get caught up in the moment, and maybe you are barking, maybe you're not. But I don't think it's just the moment of hockey. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how could you miss that one? You got a hook on us early. You know what I mean? That might be
That's
it.
all it really is. Yeah,
And then
exactly.
it's over, right? 30 seconds later, you got to run your bench, and you got to get back to the task at hand, so to speak. So spending a lot of time on officials, I think, is counterproductive in the end of the day. Now, can you work an official if you feel like there was a borderline call? Yeah, I think you have to have an ability to sort of make sure you stay in his ear without pissing him off, so to speak, but let him know, hey, you got to take a look at that one. That might be one. And or the couple go by and it's like, hey, I'll raise my voice at a guy I know well, and like, Jean Hubert, whatever, we came up together.
Hey, yeah, right.
Johnny, holy, and like, listen, there's two roughs there you called us for, like, and hopefully in the later in the third period, you're getting his attention because he's like, geez, Butch is upset. What did I miss? Because he doesn't usually say anything to me.
He was my roommate in the Coast League, Johnny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I keep in touch with him. He's great. Yeah, he's one of the.
Good
I think
guy.
he's one of the top ones in the league.
I'm happy
great guy.
for him. Yeah,
Me too. I was psyched to get. Yeah,
he he worked his way up. He had to be the young guy, and then I think he's past some of the older guys. I think he does a good job.
agreed.
I've always liked Johnny. I thought he's a very level-headed guy that even if you do sort of something you dislike, and he's like, all right, what is it? Settle down and come over at the timeout or whatever at the appropriate time, right? It's not
Great
in the
communicator.
middle of the game. That's the only thing that ever bothered me is I might be barking at a ref to wake my team up, or if nothing else, right? Just to get their attention. And the guy's yelling back at me, and I'm like, well, you should be officiating the game, not worried
Yeah.
about me. And I'm sure he'd say the same. Well, you should coach your team. And I said, well, this is part of coaching my team. I'm trying to wake them the hell up, and so I'm gonna bark at you over something, or I'll have their back or something. But those are the guys I always worried about. Like, don't worry about me yelling at you. I mean, I'm not important right now. What's going on in the ice is,
Right.
So
We-
anyway,
Well, like
we
if
had.
you're
We had. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, so like if you're yelling at Gino about Kevin Miller closing his hand on a puck, you're really yelling at Kevin Miller.
I was going to bring that up. Yes.
There's some some stuff like that.
Yeah, we had Kevin Miller on the podcast, and I go, it was a playoff game, and I called the penalty shot. It was the first call of the game. It was like a minute in, too. And he's like I was like, Kevin, what are you doing? He's like, good luck with Bruce. And I was like, I skated over, you lit me up, and I was like, he's like, the first call of the game, you're calling a fucking penalty shot? Fucking, what are you doing? Wake the fuck up. And I'm like, that's the only thing I could call. And you were like, yeah, fuck. And I'm like, but I was like, hey, like, I was like, he's not mad at me. He's just mad at the situation, right? Like, you know, and then like I think that game might have went to like triple overtime or something stupid, but yeah. But I remember that was funny.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, we all have our moments. So
yeah, it wasn't anything malicious or it was just part of the war. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Kevin, he's good. He's a good fella. He's out west now. I think he lives in Denver.
Tony, Montana. Tony, Montana, middle of nowhere.
That sounds like him. He's probably there hunting, fishing, and enjoying life. Yeah, there's a guy that was an underrated player that it really had a few injuries that unfortunately derailed his career. Otherwise, he'd have been one of the probably like a Bruin forever and one of the favorites because he's just a hard-nosed, great teammate to work, undrafted. I was in Providence when we gave him a tryout, and late in the year he finished his school year. I think he was he a Vermont or
UVM. Yep, UVM. I remember when he came down.
Yeah, Catamount. I used to ask him that in the middle of the game. Hey, what the hell's a Catamount anyway? Anyway, he'd be frothing at the mouth coming off for a shift, and you have to calm him down. So get his mind thinking. Anyway, he plays great. He fights a guy, he hits everything that moves, can move the puck. Just kept working on his feet. That eventually he was an NHL skater because that was the knock on him when he first got there. So, and at that age, he was a little older. He's probably 25. So to improve your foot speed at 25 that's not an easy thing to do, right? To be able to graduate a couple of levels to get to the NHL ability to skate. He did it. Became almost a strength of his. So great guy. I missed coaching him when he got injured. And we missed him in the playoffs one year. I think
he was big loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if he wasn't hurt in those playoffs, I think you guys win. I really do. He was that much of a difference.
Half the team was hurt.
Yeah, we got our blue line got a little small as that run we lost to St. Louis by the end. Krug and Grizzy and Clifton that were smaller guys and they played their asses off and gave us everything they had. But over the course of a playoffs, you get on a 2-month run that those bigger guys they make a difference. So we missed him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just such a great guy. Josh and I were able to go out to his house for a cookout when we did the Face Off of Heroes with the Warrior for Life Fund out in Montana. And just a super guy. I mean,
yeah,
can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah, he is. Terrific fella.
Now, you mentioned like working on that foot speed. You've played in both and you've coached in both American League to National Hockey League. What obviously there's a difference, right? But like, what is that difference? Because I don't know if everyone really understands how much of a jump that is.
Well, I'll try to kind of paint a picture this way a little bit. There are lots of guys in the American League right now playing in Providence that skate well enough or have the size or have the hockey IQ, but they don't all have 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 4. You know what I mean? Like there's always a guy you see in Providence that's like, oh boy, he'd be one of the better skaters in Boston. But it's the processing and the ability to process the game at a high level. I think separates the NHL guys most often. It really is their hockey IQ, and then make decisions and make plays with limited time and space, right? And then against grown men, so that you see guys in Providence that can get in a puck battle and they can kind of come out of a corner against maybe a 21-year-old that's 190 pounds. Now you're getting a guy that's 31 years old and he's man strength and 205 and he just can't separate or make the same play, right? That makes him successful down there. So there's a little bit of that, but I think it's the processing more than anything and playing the game at that fast of a speed, because that's the biggest difference is the speed of the game, the way time and space that the guys don't have in the NHL level that they do have in the American League.
Yeah, Mark Mowers talked about that as being a scout. You know, those 4 things you look for, and
Yeah.
very few guys have all 4 when you're scouting them.
Well, it's true, and especially if they're down there, it probably means they're not ready. Well, it does mean they're not ready. That's why they're there. So something's missing. You know, there's guys that certainly can come right up and play. It happens, but most of the guys need to go and fine tune their game in whatever area that is. And a lot of time it's just going from a boy to a man, going from, 21, 22 to, all of a sudden you're 25 and you put on 15 pounds of muscle and over that time. And I watched that with Pasternak, right?
I'm
He
just
came
gonna
down,
say that, yeah.
he came down as a 19-year-old and you could tell he had the ability. It's just, he was still a boy. And all of a sudden, you know, I remember walking through the door 3 years later into the gym up in Rustisha there, the old practice rink. And there's a guy in there lifting weights and, he's got his back to me and long hair at the time. And I'm like, who's that? They must have a new guy. And turns around, it's Pasta. And his back and, I don't want to sound like a weirdo, and shoulders were like twice the size they were when he left as a 19-year-old kid, when he played for us. And it's like, there's a guy that put the work in. Had man strength all of a sudden, and that's why he can do the things he can on the ice, right? Like, you want to play in traffic, you gotta have the strength to do it in the core, to be able to stay on your skates and not get knocked off balance every time you run into somebody. And that separates a lot of guys too, and that's just a little bit of a maturing process.
Now, Marchand, you coached him, and there's a guy that really worked his way from the 4th line all the way up to being one of the top wingers in the league. His compete. Andy Brickley said he's never seen anyone that competes more than Marchand.
And I would agree with that. And he was in Providence. I was with Rob Murray coaching, and he came and hard, always the last guy off the ice. He's out there one day and he's going down the wing at the end of practice. And we were pretty much a weekend league, so the guys did have lots of time to practice, during the week and get ready for their games. So, and they're young guys; they got nothing else going on. So, but he put even more than most guys, and he's working on his shot coming off the wing, like that one leg, where they have one leg planted on the ground and one in the air, kind of like Messier coming down the wing back in the day. And I was kind of asking him, "What are you doing?" He's like, doing your Messier? And he says, no, I'm doing Joe Sakic because he shoots on the opposite leg that everyone else does. And I'm like, really? And I've been, I'm coaching hockey. I'm supposed to know this stuff. I'm going to have to look at this and see if he's right, but that's the things he was doing. He was trying to emulate the best players in the league and try to build his game. And I'm almost like, listen, you're just going to be a checker, kid. You better, work on shot blocking and your penalty killing and, and he became, like obviously Claude Julien gave him the chance to play at the NHL level. And I think it was an injury to maybe Marco Sturm or somebody. And he comes up and gets to play. And then he moves up the lineup. And I think where I helped Marshy develop was his offensive game, because I saw him as a guy that could really help in the power play around the front of the net. And back then, there was a lot of guys net front. There were the big, strong guy or the bigger guys that would screen the goalie, right? And then you started to see a change. And I remember Zach Parise was a real good net front guy. I think he was in Jersey at the time. I always thought, well, there's a different, he's probably 5'10" or so. He's not screening goalies, but he gets his stick on everything. He recovers every puck around the net. He can make plays in tight. And so I thought maybe that's Marshy's spot, and sure enough, he gets in there, gets a chance and builds his offensive team and then ends up a half wall guy. But that's him putting the work in and working on the small area plays and the touch plays and his hands and the recognition how killers, place their sticks. And the guy's just a student of a game, and you mix that in with his competitiveness and wanting to kind of show everybody. He's got also his chip on the shoulder, right? That drives him every day. And look at his career. I mean, I don't think anybody could have predicted that when he first got there. And if they are, I think they're lying to you, but good on Marshy, because no one saw him being like a guy that's going to go to the Hall of Fame and be 100-point guy, all these things. He could have been certainly an agitator, an aggressor, penalty kill guy, but I don't think anybody saw the upside that he's been able to get to.
The first ever game in Providence I did, Marchand, it was a Sunday. You guys killed Portland. It was like 7-1. And Marshawn tripped, like, he was like, scrumming and this and that. I get to him. I'm like, what is your problem? It's a Sunday. You're up 5-1. And he got in my face and was just like, I'm trying to get back up top. Leave me the fuck alone. And I was like, who the fuck is this kid? I look at him. I'm like, wow, this kid's awesome. I was like, he's going to be a Bruin. And sure as shit, like, he had a hell of a career, man. Like, and he started a line brawl that game too. Somebody jumped off the bench. We had a 5-on-5. It was awesome. But, like, just that compete and that attitude that he had, he brought it every night.
Yeah, and that was certainly him. He was an agitator, and he was one of he still chirped the back. He mellowed a little bit, thank God. Like,
Yeah, right.
the microphones that would pick him up nowadays, he'd be in trouble.
Well, I want to tell you a little bit about Townsend Hockey, our sponsor. They don't just build great hockey players, they build great people with discipline, respect, leadership, on and off the ice. They train character, they grow confidence, and they inspire a lifelong love of the game. Because at Townsend Hockey, it's not just about the scoreboard, it's about who you become. They build teammates, leaders, young people with heart, grit, and integrity because they know that the lessons learned on the ice, discipline, respect, resilience, are the same ones that shape strong character for life. At Townsend Hockey, they don't just develop great hockey players, they develop great people. Townsend Hockey, join them and become more than just a player, become your best self. Townsend Hockey, practice until you get it right, practice until you can't get it wrong. Find them at townsendhockey.com. And we want to thank Graham Townsend for being our sponsor. Now, let's get back to our time with Butch Cassidy.
And so would a lot of other guys, to be honest, back then in the American League. He wasn't alone, but that was
right.
I think that kept him in games, and it was good for the bench. As long as he didn't cross the line. That's the other part. He learned to not cross the line. There was a time there where it was like, I don't know if he's gonna, be able to stay out of the box and not be suspended 2 times. You know what I mean? And
Right.
he's kind of learned that he's valuable on the ice. He can still, initiate and instigate some of that stuff, but you got to be careful. So, and I know I had a good talk with him when he was in Boston after the licking incident there in Tampa. A little bit about like, okay, like that's not necessary, dude. Like, it's one thing you get, you hit a guy and whatever, it happens in high speed that maybe your stick got up and it didn't mean whatever, but
Right.
some of the other stuff was kind of like, you could have a Hall of Fame legacy, if you just stick to playing hard competitive hockey, with your ability, and he's gonna, and good for him. So, yeah.
Chemistry him and Bergeron had, I think, was and Pasta, the three of them, but Bergeron especially, like him and Bergie were just next level chemistry.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things, right? You never know how that's going to work. And they were polar opposites as kind of how they behaved, as players on the ice at the time. And I think Bergie, deserves a big chunk of the credit for Marshy's, ability to keep growing and maturing as a player. He did a great job with him and getting him to understand how, how the team needed him and still, sort of play on the line but not cross it, and build his game in terms of, the conditioning part and managing the game. There's so many things that you have to kind of learn as you go that are hard to teach at times, right? That you just need someone around you to look up to sort of get that part down. And then that was certainly Bergie for him.
Now, you've coached for a long time, and athletes now are definitely different than before. And, you look at someone like Bill Belichick, right? He had one way of dealing with things. And as the athletes change, you as a coach kind of have to change, no?
Absolutely. I think the generation today, it's not, well, years ago, let's say, okay, so I'm 60. So you play for a coach when you're 18, 19, 20, 22. It's like jump. Okay, how high, coach? You know what I mean? Like that's it. Whereas nowadays, there's a lot more back and forth interaction. This is why I need you to do this. This is what's good for the team. This is why I need you to conduct yourself this way, etc. It's not a one-way conversation, right? It is a back and forth, and And let's face it, every generation's probably a little more knowledgeable and tuned with things. So that's probably the way it should be, right? And I think the athletes today to have so much more access to for individual success through
Mm.
trainers, sleep people, mental coaches. Everyone has their own personal trainer, but all these other things that maybe weren't available years ago too for people. And some of that's economics, right? The players get paid so much better now,
Mm.
but I think it's just some of it's what's available to the athlete that wasn't before. So nowadays, they're able to, sports psychologists, whatever, they're able to kind of communicate with them so that helps them communicate better with the coaches too. And we know that these things are available to them. It can't just be a simple directive. It just needs to be a relationship has to be built. Because I think years ago, I don't know if that was necessary. I think players just played. I don't know if, you know, go back to Montreal or Boston, pick a team. Um, Scotty Bowman, let's say, I don't know if Larry Robinson had to have a friendship with or a relationship with Scotty Bowman to play well. Scotty probably just told him, "This is what I need you to do. This is what I want you," et cetera.
Right.
Right? I don't want to speak for them, but I'm being general here in that sense. But I think nowadays, most of those top players all have some level of relationship with the coach where there's more back and forth on what's required, what do the players need, what do I need, this is what the team needs, and mixed in with what the coach needs from the players to be so the team could be at its best. So that's certainly something you have to adapt to. And then social media, right nowadays, I mean, it wasn't around, so coaches have to be aware that players are on it and they care about it and it bothers them or it whatever word you want to use. So that's something that, I think um, is different in today's game as well. There's just a lot more awareness of everything around the player than there used to be.
Now, cell phones definitely, I mean, we see it in refereeing with the young guys. They're in the locker room instead of talking about the game or, going over the rule book, they're on their phone. I can only imagine it's the same for you as a coach.
Mm.
Like, you know, it's got to drive you nuts sometimes.
Well, it's important to them, right? What some fan thinks or some people think, and yeah, you want your fan base to, you respect you and like you as a player, but I mean, there's always going to be someone out there, no matter what you do, is going to write something negative and try to, you know what I mean, like
Right.
stir the pot, and so you just can't get caught up in a lot of, though. That's what I try to tell them. Like, yeah, I mean, you're going to be on your phone, you're going to have your um, apps and whatever websites you're going to visit and be part of and post and like you can tell, right? I'm not a I'm not a social media guy because I can't even name one, So,
The
but
TikTok.
I have teenagers, right? And they're on them. Exactly. Right. And I'm on TikToks as my daughter's constantly doing them. But, um, these are supposed to be just funny, goofy things, but there's all these things that are important to guys and it can affect their mood. Right. Like,
Mm.
so you have to keep an eye on that stuff too. It's like the old days, they showed up for work. You skated them, you worked them in practice, you barked at them a little bit and they went, now you got to pay a little more attention to, like what's going on around them and in their life, and you got to check in with the players a lot more than you ever would have had to before. And I don't even think years ago, like I didn't need a coach talking to me when I was 20 years old. Just tell me what you want and I'll do. You know what I mean? That's the way you were
Right.
wired. And I think nowadays players are so used to having a relationship like, more than just a sort of job type relationship that you have to be on top of that. And so you need to work the room, be out there a lot more, have breakfast with the play. You know what I mean? Those little
Right.
things that touch them, I guess, is in once a week, make sure that you're crossing paths with them. It's, you know what I mean? Like, and you almost have to do a checklist of that. Um, nowadays, whereas before that was something that, no, I don't think any coach ever worried about.
Right.
Who you've coached some great players. And I won't, I don't want to ask you who the best player was you coached, but who was kind of that player that, you know, I don't want to say was your favorite, but who was that player that you just loved seeing at the rink and, got you going as a coach? Because I coached for years and there was always that one player on the team that you were like, you couldn't wait to see him at the rink.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint one guy. Like I'll go back to Marshawn, right? Every day he came into the rink, he was in a good mood. and he was chirping somebody. So he brought energy, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. And so Marshy was always the guy that it didn't matter. He'd walk in the room, he'd say something to you, or if you didn't say it first, he was going to say something, right? Like, something about your haircut or whatever you were wearing, whatever. Like, here we go.
Yeah.
So there was always lots of back and forth with his teammates, with coaches, with everybody. So his energy level was great. I love David Pasternak because I had him. He came over here as a young Czech kid, as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old. He's a teenager. To see his success, and you were kind of was able to help him out in whatever way, as a young guy. So I like David, and I like his energy too. He's a fun guy to be around. I loved Zdeno and Berge because of the ultimate professionals they were, and I'd put Krejci in that category. Right, those are guys that have been in the league. I get my second chance with Boston. I haven't been a head coach for 15 years, and these guys couldn't have been any more respectful or you know professional towards me. And what do you need, coach? What message you need us to send? And they were fantastic, because you walk through that door, you just don't know what's going to happen, right? And to have those guys on your side, and then have the opportunity to kind of earn their respect, to me was great. And Kretsch wasn't as vocal as the other two guys, but he was still a great leader and a great guy to learn from. So to have those three older guys, I thought was special to me at the time. Kevin Miller, we talked about, just a guy that came up through the minors, paid his dues. I love those guys. I mean, that was my life, right, as a player and as a coach. So the guys that kind of worked their way up. Here in Vegas, it was the funny guy was that Jonathan Marcia. So when I got here,
I remember him in the minors. Yeah,
he had all kinds of, a bit like Marcia, all kinds of attitude and opinions, but he was fun every day. He was at the rink having a good time. And you need those guys for your practice. You really do, because the season can drag on. So Jack Eichel, I love coaching. He just wants to get better. He wants to be coached. He's great to talk to, understands the game really well, all aspects of it. So he's a guy I look forward to when something's on my mind, you know what I mean, about hockey. And he's certainly got lots of personality too, but he's a guy that, a bit like Bergie that way, you can go in and say, well, what do you think of this? Our team's here, we seem to be slowing down a little bit. Are we playing slow? Or are we just getting what do you see? And you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're talking hockey. They're great for that stuff, to bounce ideas off. And because he's got a good perspective of the whole game. It's not just about one area of it or himself. So
now, how excited are you for like the Olympics? Because you're, part of that coaching staff with, like you mentioned, with Cooper. I mean, coaching the best of the best. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, it's funny. I was doing a media scrum today, and we were talking a bit about that. Are you excited? I said, it's hard to get excited because it's still 2 months away, and it's so day to day in the NHL. Like right now, I'm worried about the New York Jersey Devils penalty kill, right, or whatever, and then it's the Rangers next, and so you're not really focused on. I'm going to end up with helping with the forwards, and then the power. I do the power play, so I'm not. You're thinking about Connor McDavid to McKinnon to Crosby, you know what I mean? But like it's still a ways away, and you've kind of done some of done some of the work and put it in the back of your mind. And so we meet as coaches, probably every month, and get a Zoom call in and catch up on things. So that's when you sort of get the juices flowing again. But it's kind of at the back of your mind. Now, I think once they name the team, like what is it, January 1st, I think, or sometime around then, I think then it'll start to get a little more real, right? Like, because we did our orientation camp in Calgary in August. We booked all the flights, the hotels, you know what I mean? All that stuff's taken care of. But I think once the team's picked, I think then now you're right there. It's right around the corner. So that's how I feel about it. It's quite an honor. Obviously, I think when that first day, when you get there and you're part of it and walking through the village, I think, because I've never been part of that, I think that'll be something else. That'll be one of your lifelong
bucket
memories
list
that you'll never forget. So that'll be cool.
Congrats on that.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
good luck.
Do you think Morgan Geekie has a shot at making the team this year?
I think the way he's playing, he does. I just think it's a tough lineup to crack.
Big time.
The way he's playing, he's got a shot at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's true. Like the Four Nations, they're who are they going to take off that team? Well, I'm sure there's probably a couple guys they're looking at changing, but I don't think they can change 6 or 8 guys, so there's only so many spots. So, but anyway, they'll make that call. We don't we have, we're asked about the odd player here and there, mostly our own, like the Vegas guys I'll have input on. And, whatever team you're getting 25 great players. That's the
Right.
one thing, no matter who they pick or don't pick. So that's the good part.
I'm sure it'll be a little weird coaching against your own players like Eichel, Hannafin, that are obviously going to play for the U.S.
Yeah. Well, it was at Four Nations because I know how good Jack is, and we get into overtime, and he's out there shutting down, our top centers, trying to shut down McKinnon or McDavid, and I know how good he is at it. So, but there's also that respect for him too, right? Like if, listen, I want to win, we all want to win, right? But if you know if Canada can't or we can't, then I'd love it to be Jack or William Karlsson, who's a great guy playing for Sweden. So there's that part of it too. You're going to be happy for them because you're with them every day. So that's the consolation prize if you don't lose. I guess you see people around you getting the opportunity to win.
I think there's a guarantee there'll be a gold medal in Vegas with someone.
Yeah, we got. Well, we don't have any Finns, so if the Finns pull an upset, we even have a guy from Denmark, Henderson. If they pull it off, or Norway, I forget what he is. Yeah, so
Denmark will need a miracle. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Jonas Ronberg, great kid too. I'd be happy for him, but he's a left winger down. He's kind of a call up guy for us, but he's going. Hurdle will probably go for the Czechs. So we've got a few different nationalities.
Your base is covered. Hey, Bruce, I've always been curious about this with coaches, and now that we have one here at the NHL level, so going to a city like Vegas after leaving Boston, like I was covering the Bruins when for WEI when Claude Julien was let go, and you came in, and I was actually in the media room when you walked in. It was so weird, like. Claude Julien comes in every day, and I know you were in the organization, but then one day you walk in, and I know it was just my own anxiety, but I was like, he's just getting thrown in. Like, you had to walk into the media room, and I was just like, yikes. And, like, then having, like, a fresh start in Vegas, like, I know they probably have their own anxieties and ways you approach it, but how did you approach, like, coming in, like, as a new coach fresh with a full season versus, like, Claude Julien's gone, and now the next day you're coming in.
Yeah, well, I was lucky that day because everybody in the media except you, I guess, was at the Patriots Super Bowl parade, so there was no one there. I remember that. So I got lucky. No, I mean the Boston media. I enjoyed my time with the Boston media. I tried to be as honest. I was very honest every day, every question that I could, without giving away our it's stuff that needs to stay in the locker room. So I tried to be that guy from day one. I think I appreciated the Boston fan base mentality. They're diehard sports fans. I mean, I lived an hour up the road in Providence for years. I was there in Boston. I grew up a Bruins fan. So I get it, right? So try to give them, the information I could and why we did it right away. And then when you go to Vegas, yes, you get a whole summer to sort of plot what you're gonna, how you're gonna run your team, et cetera. So that part of it is you certainly have a head start on, in terms of how you want to run things. Boston, yes, you go after. But I will tell you, it took me a long time to get a second chance. So I always talk to coaches in the league that, like a Joe Sack will say, you know what I mean, or different Mike or Jeff Blashill just got rehired, his second chance with Chicago. So those guys that get your second chance, I will tell them, make sure you're ready. Just be ready. So how you do that in your spare time, you may have to prepare like you do your assistant work. But as a head guy, what would I do in this situation? If Claude did something, how would I respond to that? How would I answer that question in the media? How would I talk to my group after we got our asses kicked? Or, you know what I mean? Like you're building a little bit of, when you become the boss, how are you going to react? Because you don't get a lot of do-overs, right? When it happens in the moment, you need to get it right most of the time. So I'd say that's the difference. When you at Vegas, at least you could sort of walk yourself through it and take your time with it when I first got there. But then it's similar to Boston in terms of how you treat the team. But I will say the media here is they just didn't know as much about hockey. They hadn't been around the team as much, and so they're a little less confrontational or opinionated, because that's just who they are right now. Now, down the road, will that change? The team has had success. When they stop having success, hey, will they be demanding that and etc.? I don't know, right? Like, we'll see. But different. It's a different mentality of the city. The city, you said it earlier, everything's a party, right? It's a show. It's a little bit of fun. It's so, and I think that translates a bit into, maybe the media attention, how they do things. They're just, they're not as intense.
Yeah.
Now,
Makes sense.
I haven't been following the Raiders as much. They're having a tough year. So I don't know if they're all over the Raiders because it's more of a football kind of market, but we've been around longer than them. So I don't know. But over time, that may change because the baseball team's coming now. The A's are coming in a couple of years. My guess is they'll have basketball down the road. It seems to be becoming a sports town. So maybe maybe there'll be a little more, scrutiny involved as that happens.
It's kind of like almost, I suppose, media and fans, almost like a polar opposite, because the Bruins are just so rooted in history, and everyone here is, a mental patient. Let's be honest, right? Especially real Bruins fans. And then, out there, it's new to them, but they're all about the fanfare. I mean, I was impressed with the fans. Now, they might not know what the hell's going on yet, some of them, but they're definitely into it, but for a different reason. And that's kind of, I think that must be cool to experience both. And the media, got to be the same.
Yeah, and the fan base, I mean, they're knowledgeable about hockey, but you're right. They don't have 100 years of history. They don't have, generations of different teams or players or coaches, however, you know what I mean? You want to categorize it, but, and then they go to the cup the first year they're in the league, right? And so the instant success, they haven't gone through a ton of heartache or the down seasons, and I don't mean season, I mean seasons where the
Right.
team's just not competitive for X amount of years, right? They haven't lived that yet. So that can, harden you up a little bit too, or make it be, a little tougher on the team if you go through some of those. So that may or may not happen. Hopefully not on my watch, but we'll see.
Let's hope
But
not.
that's something that the fan base will have to go through at some point, because everybody does, and see how they come out the other side.
What's the craziest thing you've seen as a coach at whatever level? I mean, obviously the East Coast League, we saw plenty of crazy shit, but craziest thing that you've seen as a coach on the bench.
Well, I enjoyed the Tuukka Rask meltdown in Providence after the shootout. And
Epic.
and Tuukka's a buddy of mine, so he won't mind me revisiting this. We see each other. He's still working with the Bruins. I see him on the road. I thought that was interesting. He was a young guy at the milk crate. I don't know if I was
I've
already
seen that, yeah.
I was down the hallway in the office. I was the assistant coach, and because just a quick update if you didn't, it was like a shootout goal that he didn't think went in, but it went off the crossbar and in, not out. And then the next guy comes, so he's mad at the official already. And there's no replay back then, right? So, and then next guy comes down and kind of loses the puck while he's deking, and then Tuukka thinks that the shot's over, but he gets possession again and scores from a weird angle, and they count it. So anyway, we lose the shootout. I walk to the room, and I guess he took a milk crate. Was that with I don't know if the pucks were in it before or whatever, and just starts firing it, back on the ice. And so that was interesting. There was another incident in Grand Rapids when I was coaching, and this player got thrown out of the game for fighting, and he was really upset. I forget his name. I might be able to remember it. So he went down the hallway, and he had all his shirt off, his shoulder pads, elbow pads, and he got tossed from the game. So anyway, we're about to get started again, and this guy comes flying back out on the ice, skating around the ice, trying to get to the guy he fought on our team. And it was like the guy on Slapshot that was, kind of
Those shoulder pads, right?
Again, I'm like, what's going on here? And then the linesmen are chasing him around all over to try to, get him off the ice again. So anyway, they got him and no harm was done. It was entertaining for about 30 seconds, but I'd never seen that before. So yeah, those were two of the better moments, just for amusement. That would be YouTube clips somewhere.
Yeah, good thing social media wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah, I think the Tuca one is out there somewhere. I think
Well, that
someone
is, yeah.
posted it.
That's out there, yeah.
But I mean, hey, I don't blame him. I think
Competitive.
he might have had a beef with they might have made a rule after that if you lose control of the puck on the shoot. You know what I mean? Like, so, but there, the shootout was probably even still new then. So there was a lot of tweaks that were still to be made to it. But yeah,
Yeah, he definitely snapped.
yeah, yeah. And he's a pretty calm guy, Tuca.
Yeah.
He's not the guy I would have expected. You know what I mean? Like, he's yeah. So anyway.
Well, I do the Bruins alumni referee some of the games, and he plays out, and he's convinced he has the silkiest hands around. So, one guy we want you to say hi to for us is Ghosh, Dave Gosher. He came on the podcast and was great.
Yeah, he does a good job for us. Popular guy. I don't get to listen to all the games. Even when I watch him back, sometimes the volume's on, sometimes it isn't. You get the out-of-town announcer or whatever, but does a great job.
Yes.
Good guy. We golf together a lot. He's in a band, right? He probably talked about Springsteen and his tour. So I think it's called Double Minor, right? This is his band. I think. Anyway, he sings and plays the guitar.
Yeah.
So we've seen him. We've gone. The staff will go support him if he plays the place around the corner. Does a pretty good job, Ghosh. So
Awesome.
that's his alter ego, so to speak. So yeah,
Right on.
good guy.
That's awesome. And my brother, Dr. Riley, said to say hi. He enjoyed your time here in Boston as the dentist of the Bruins.
Yeah, a nice guy. I didn't have to see him, thank God.
No flying pucks.
No. I got to tell you, I'm going to get hit soon here hard because last year there was 3 that buzzed right by my cranium. And I know pretty soon you're going to be looking the wrong way because pucks get deflected in there, and I've seen a few coaches over the years with black eyes from that. So I know my day's coming. Hopefully, knock on wood, it's not serious because I've dodged a few of them here recently.
Yeah, you don't want to be like the piano player in Slapshot wearing the helmet.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to say, you were mentioning a few there. Our buddy Brian McDonald for kind of getting us together.
Yes.
He's a good dude, a good old linesman. So I don't know if I ever told you guys, when I was coaching in Providence, we used to skate at 3:00 at the dunk all the time. And it was a bunch of guys that just rented the ice, right? They were like, policemen and some lawyers. I mean, we had Johnny Harwood, Speaker of the House there in Rhode Island, but we had a few of the linesmen. I don't know if you guys you must have worked probably with the Malay brothers.
Yeah,
right?
the Malay brothers.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah, so they were out there skating with us too. So it was quite the group. State troopers,
Bobby
they had.
Paquette.
Yeah, we had a lot of different guys out there. It was fun. I remember back then. That was my kind of first or second year in Providence. But I was just thinking of Mac, and because he was friends with those guys, the linesmen. So you'd be skating with him Thursday afternoon at 3, toe dragging my way around, Chris Malay for fun, and then burying one, and then having a beer with him after, and then yelling at him the next night about his offside call.
It's about relationships. That's all
It
it is.
is.
It really is.
We were like that Bugs Bunny. What's that? The road. The
wolf and the sheep.
Coyote
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the sheepdog. That was
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
their relationship.
Morning,
Exactly.
They both clocked in, the sheepdog and the wolf.
Yeah.
Morning,
Yeah,
Fred. Morning, Fred.
Yeah. Hey, Ralph. Yeah, that was funny.
B-Mac's the
B-Mac was
best.
always good to send messages to the bench too, or he'd always come up like he would always calm the head coaches down for us.
Yeah,
He was really good with that. Yeah.
He's got that personality, right? He can
Yeah.
find a way to sort of, he's usually smiling about something. So
Right,
he didn't take it. I think if you barked at him, he didn't care either, right?
No,
He's kind of
no.
that guy, in one ear, out the other. So, yep. So he was good. He was good that way. He knew his circuit too around that area, right? Springfield, us,
Oh, yeah.
Manchester. So I think he had good
All-
relationship with the officials too that came through there. He probably was a guy that was able to give you guys some information that didn't always officiate those areas and say, hey, by the way, these guys had a Friday night. They had a pretty physical game. So I don't know if the linesmen do that for
No,
you
they
guys.
do. Yep.
I would assume you'd want a little bit of. You don't want to, know everything, but a little, maybe the temperature of the game may go up or not. You probably want to get a bit of a feel going into it, what maybe has happened. So I think Brian was pretty good at that.
Yeah, he was the best. Yeah.
Yeah, the good ones always do that for you. They know, to give you that heads up so you don't go in blind and realize that the two teams beat the shit out of each other, the night before.
Yeah, or someone ran someone like, hey, that number 4 ran their best player, so someone's going to be after him tonight. Just so you know, like it's probably going to happen. Like just maybe, what I mean, a few details that might make your job a little easier.
100%.
Well, I know you really want to thank you for taking your time out of that busy, your busy schedule.
Yeah, thank you.
thanks
NHL
for-
coaches, you got a few things going on.
Yeah, well, we're on the road, so it's a good time to do it, right? You get a little downtime on the road. I'll say that. So gonna
That
go.
is true.
Yeah, New York City tonight. Gonna go grab a dinner and then get ready for a game tomorrow. So maybe watch a little Thursday night football, whatever's on. Yeah, thanks for having me. Always good to talk hockey. Go back in time a little bit. It's always fun,
Right on.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate you coming on, and I'll be cheering for the Golden Knights out west. I'll tell you that. So Bruce Cassidy, I mean Butchie, how great is he?
He's awesome.
Yeah.
The best.
I miss him as Bruins coach so much.
I do too, and I kind of wanted to get into I wanted to ask how cool it was, or did you really what his feelings were towards, but I don't think he has hard feelings towards Boston. I think he's just a professional, just true professional.
I think he's good friends with Don Sweeney still. So
Yeah.
he's just the type of guy. He doesn't seem like he would hold a grudge. I mean, I personally think when they fired him, that was the start of their downswing. I mean, they still made, they still did really well, but he won Coach of the Year. He won the President's Trophy with them.
Dude, he won a cup.
And then he goes and wins a cup.
And then they almost saved it with Monty.
Yeah.
And then fired him.
I just, I loved him as a coach. And that's why, that's why the Golden Knights are my adopted Western Conference team, because I'd love to see them win another one.
I mean, his team just, they play hard.
We didn't even bring up Marner. He's Marner's coach now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We don't want to bring up Marner.
No, I didn't want to bring Toronto into it. That's just bad omen.
No, we don't want to mention the Leafs. What's fun? What was really cool was that I reffed in the East Coast League with him, and you reffed in the American League with him, which is kind of cool. And he brought up one of my favorite refs from back in the day, number 33.
And how great he did.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because he would be the ref back in the Coast League that would call that many penalties. So
I remember me and Johnny, he brought up Johnny Hebert, and I remember me and him, we'd be we'd call about 7 or 8 penalties a game, if maybe 10, if 10, 12's a lot, right? But
yeah,
go find good ones. You don't want to miss the easy ones. I mean, there were games where you had to call 20, right? I mean, those are the games. But for your typical, your typical game, you don't want to be marching people in the box. You want to be able to let it rock and roll, let big hits happen and penalize the violence. Scoring
there are those
opportunities.
I mean,
see you later.
I had the one in Richmond with 304 minutes and penalties, But then the day I did 2 pro games, the first one in Jacksonville at noon, the second one in Tallahassee at 7. I think that day for both games, I think I might have had a total of 6 penalties in both games. And both of them were just over 2 hours. So I hold that badge of honor.
I was going to crack the joke when he brought up Johnny, too. Was yeah, Johnny's ref in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I'm here on a podcast talking to you.
Yeah, but you'd never go all the way outside the blue line as the low guy. So let's remember that. So, well, that was
awesome.
Butch Cassidy, Bruce Cassidy, for coming on.
I love our episodes are going full circle now, because how long ago did we have Kevin Miller on? And you told that story, Gino, and now
right.
now we got both sides of the story.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, no, that's it's good stuff, and it kind of shows how small the hockey world is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's big, but it's really not. It's really not as big as everyone thinks it is. So, but Bruce Cassidy, awesome, awesome stuff. So that's going to do it for episode 92. We want to thank our sponsors, the Referees Crease, Damon Financial LLC, and also Townsend Hockey. Also want to thank AOA Studios, as always, because they're always involved. And I want to remind you to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on the social medias, the Facebook, the Instagram, and of course,
The TikTok.
thank you, Gino, the TikTok. That's catching on, by the way.
It is.
You also want to check out our online store, chirpingzebras.com. You can get all the latest news and happenings, and also check out all the merch that we have on there. Some really good stuff, some new stuff. So check that out. And that's going to do it. So for Josh Dolan, our producer, for Gino Binda Jr., I'm Mark Riley saying so long. We'll see you next time right here on the Chirping Zebras.